Brahim, welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you coming, of course. So let's just get right into it. Brahim is also living in the Boston area. Um, we were coworkers previously, um, and he's just a very entrepreneurially minded individual, and I think he has a lot of really great ideas. Thank you for coming, Brahim.
Wait, you want me to talk right now?
You can, yeah. We could kind of make it just a
I think you
conversation.
might have a lot of editing to do because I don't really. It's my
No,
first
I
time
won't
doing
edit
it.
it. I won't edit it. This will be funny. It will be like a funny memory. Um, I do
Well,
have some questions too, but
thanks for having me. Honestly, this is a new experience for me.
of
Never had
course,
this before. But I'd love to talk about whatever topics you got going on and questions you had listed out for me. I think it'll be a great discussion. We both will learn a lot of things from it, and not just that, but also we get to explore new ideas and just kind of understand um, you know, in depth on each question on how kind of really does relate to us in terms of our own point of views and perspectives.
of course, definitely. Um, what I'll ask first, what was the? You have a lot of ideas. What was the first big idea you had, and did you see it as a just a daydream, or did you immediately know you could make things happen, or was it? How did that go? That process.
When you speak about ideas, there's a lot of ideas that I kind of thought about and kind of just dreamed of or kind of just wanted to experience. But personally, honestly, I don't know where to start. Do you have any, can you get a little more in
Well,
depth in
I
terms of?
I know that currently you've got lots of business ideas, and you've always, since I've known you, since you came to our job, I realized that you were very driven, and in life there are many people who have ideas, but then there are very few who are also very driven. So I'm wondering if you realized both at the same time, or one and then the other. Like, did you first realize you had ideas and then realize you could do them, or did you just know you could get things done?
I personally think that when I first started, it was definitely ideas
Mm-hmm.
because you can't become driven unless you had something behind that drive.
You're wise.
So pretty much for me, it kind of had that drive. I needed something to kind of motivate me or discipline me towards it. And so speaking of ideas, I had a lot of ideas, and as someone who is just as young as pretty much every person my age, I was just like I couldn't do what the average person would just kind of follow in the life of path. So I was like, how can I change this? How can I be different? How can I maybe be able to kind of just redirect my life trajectory? And so through that, I kind of want to start to realize mentally of how I should start to change my life and the way I view my ideas. And then through that, I started having that drive to aim for bigger.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty inspiring, I think, for a lot of people to hear, um, given how there just seems to be this disconnect in our society between people, and most people just feeling completely powerless to exert any sort of change, even in their own life. In their own life. Um, but so it's always rare when I run into someone who's knows they can make a change and is actively pursuing that change. Because it's kind of like our collective idea that we're powerless, but and like you have to be super special to have some kind of power and over your own life. But I think everyone can. Um, So living in Boston, in the Boston area, there's a lot of startups. There's a lot of people doing things. It's also stressful, the academic culture. We're both in school. How do you deal with the stress of academics and social life while also having these big ideas?
Well, I personally think that one, education should never stop. I think educating yourself on a daily basis is very important, plays a big role. Us being in school, um, learning every single day something new, I think is the best part about it because as long as you keep learning, you're constantly developing your head into a space where you can even take those ideas that were minor and make them even bigger just through how much information you're collectively adding to your, you know, thought process and all these sort of things. So I personally think that school isn't a bad idea, but it's definitely somewhere where if you find the right thing that you're good at, you can definitely take it a lot. It's like that one, it's like when they say a cherry on top. That's what pretty much
Yeah.
the way I think of school. It's like if you find the right academic, major or whatever you're interested in, it could definitely take your ideas to a whole different level and maybe even because I know a lot of people in my life that didn't end up going to college or didn't even end up finishing high school, which I found really interesting is that they have businesses that they're running, but to me in my like the way I see it is that they've kind of limited themselves
Mm-hmm.
just because of how limited their headspace is, education wise, you know what I mean? And so, since that was limiting them, they weren't able to take that business they've been running for 5, 6 years into expanding it and becoming a lot better. And so I think education is really important as I'm, kind of pursuing these ideas of mine.
Nice. I think that's really insightful. How you've been able to kind of draw that experience and like, yeah, we learn so much from the people around us in ways we don't even know when we're little, and like it's we're so impressionable when we're growing up that like family members, different things, it kind of really leaves a mark on the way you see things. Um, Boston in particular, on that point, there's a certain vibe to Boston. It's like it's not fully like this, but there's a real spirit of innovation. I think like you can kind of just see by how fast everything's getting built and things are moving quickly. It's high tech. Um, has that vibe influenced you at all, or do you see yourself detached from the city?
Well, it has definitely influenced me. Plus, on top of that, motivated me.
Yeah.
As me going through, knowing a lot of people that live in the Boston area, how, you know, good amount of them are just motivated to just become a lot better in their life, a lot better in school, especially with the education we have available here in the state. I mean, everything is super competitive, and that's what keeps us going. And with that, it's helping me not even just influence, but also push me harder so that I can aim for those ideas and try my best to actually achieve those ideas. Because without anyone to push you for, to be able to achieve these certain ideas, because I think it's like when you have no one to compete with, then you kind of start to go in your own slow pace, and you kind of just starts to slowly just lose that interest
Of
in
course.
pursuing those ideas.
That's a big one. The having people, not just purely to compete with, but just to see people doing things. And when you surround yourself with people who aren't doing things, it really does put that dampener on your ambitions, and you get kind of detached from them. So I like that point a lot. Um, how do you decide when an idea is worth pursuing, and when do you decide that an idea is something you're going to put on the shelf for later?
Personally, one of the things that I've been doing, and it's been somewhat working out for me, is when I come up with an idea, I usually tend to take around a couple weeks into just diving deep into from point A to Z in terms of how the idea is going to start and how it's going to end. Do a deep analysis on how the structure is going to look like, and not just that, but also like plan everything from the financial points to the analytical points to even future planning, because everything you do has to be planned out long term rather than short term, especially if something is going to be doing for quite a while. And so that's the way I usually would um, take towards something like that.
Nice. Yeah, that's really good. Something I've been thinking about recently is like this idea that you first before I even launch into that, what do you think about Elon Musk?
Um, Personally, he has two great companies.
Yeah,
I would say the companies are great. I mean, Tesla, I mean, he was one of the best electric cars that came out. It grew so exponentially and it's much more advanced.
yeah,
I think as well as the other company he has, which is
SpaceX.
SpaceX, correct. That one is growing as well.
Mm.
I mean, he's trying to create something that it's not even available yet,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty much recyclable rockets. Is that what it is, right?
Yes, yes.
So I think his companies are doing great,
Yeah.
and they're very beneficial to our country. But when it comes to the owner or the CEO or Elon Musk himself,
Yeah.
I would think his take on certain things and ideology on certain things kind of tend to differ from the general public.
Yeah.
So I think if
It's quite abnormal, yeah.
correct, and if I think someone like Elon Musk with his brain, I feel like it would be best for him to kind of just be. I think he was meant to create, innovate, and run
Yeah.
businesses rather than in getting involved in some certain things that are
Political things.
way out of his league.
Yeah, it might even be a big distraction for him, this political stuff, because exactly as you're saying, if he puts all his energy in the tech side, like he's without him, we're like 30 years behind in tech. So
Right.
I've always loved Musk. It's obviously sad to see how chaotic things have gotten politically recently.
Definitely.
It makes you feel almost a bit like insecure about America. Like, what do you think about that? Do you feel secure in America and the future of America? Do you think that, like, because I feel like whether it's been Biden or Trump, it's like we're always just so divided, and it's like incredible division. How do you feel about that? Are you optimistic or neutral?
Personally, I'm not a political person.
Yeah.
But when speaking about these topics in terms of inclusion or division, I think we as humans, especially us as U.S. citizens or people that just live in the U.S., I think we are a lot alike, but
Of
just
course.
a small amount of ideologies that kind of tend to differ.
Yes.
And when it comes to political stands and biases, I think that's a whole different topic that I don't really have a lot of knowledge about. But what I do say is that even if it's Trump or Biden, we have one objective, and it is just to
Improve
look
for everyone. Yeah.
correct, look after us Americans and after our kids and the future of America, rather than just focusing on the short term gain
Yes.
or the short term, I would say, pleasure.
I love that point so much. You said it really well. It's like the differences that we're taught to believe we have really don't exist. It's really people might have different priorities slightly, but we're not so different as the media and wants us to think, and they make money from us being at war and like people being at war in our country. It's like a big industry, like a big business, all the tension. So I love that I keep hearing more and more people start to wake up to it, like what you just said, where like people who aren't political, because why should we need to be political? We're just humans. I love that. I really do. The reason I brought up Musk is because he had an idea, um, which I thought was really powerful. So for anyone who's entrepreneurial, it's like what he said is too often in business, people will optimize a product which shouldn't exist in the first place. So they will spend years or months just optimizing something, this idea they have, making it perfect. But they didn't realize that there's no market for it. So his philosophy is to release something first in the most simple version and then see what the market is and then make adjustments from there, as opposed to going like if you're in a maze, it's the equivalent of going all the way through the maze like as far as you can, but you're in a really bad dead end, as opposed to just taking it like corridor by corridor and mapping it out and doing like this is really good. It's for me too because I'll be optimizing something for way too long and there's no market for it. um, let's get into ideas specifics. Is there anything on your mind, like a specific idea with business, or where do you see the business world going in the next year, the next 2 years? What have you been thinking about? What do you think your first venture will be? What kind of genre will it fall into?
Personally, for starting out, I'm mainly been focusing on service-based businesses,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's the first thing someone who, as me, doesn't have a lot of capital to kind of throw away at a business project. So I think starting off with a service-based business would tend to be a great option for me, just that I can provide that business and have a low startup cost, and as you said, grow as you go and optimize as I go. So
100% grow. I didn't hear it said like that, grow as you go, but that's fire. Yeah.
so basically, me starting that service-based business is that I would start off small, basic, and simple, and then as soon as I start to build my own clients and build my own business, I would start to kind of grow. Start hiring more employees, start getting more equipment, and it just kind of just falls under the same thought process of just grow as you go. So
Any services that you would be comfortable talking about on the pod? Any ideas in specific?
yeah, I mean there are a lot of services, and the main ones I've been focusing on, they already exist. Like for example, car detailing, or
Nice.
just transporting, goods. All these kind of there's a lot of services,
Mm-hmm.
but the ones I'm going for are pretty much just simple as they are and pretty much already a thing, and they already have a market for them.
Yes.
So it shouldn't be too difficult for me to find a market, but I would just need to kind of build that client and build that loyalty so that I can always get those referrals.
Yeah, there's a lot of businesses like that which they're not glorified. Like we don't see it in the news all the time, but things as simple as like all the raw materials that get transported around the country, like the grain and trucks carrying concrete or whatever bricks. It's like these things are where a big portion of our economy actually is, but we don't really think about it. Like um, things like that, like things which exist, and I like that idea. I've thought about that too. Obviously now I'm more interested and involved with the tech space, especially this quantum computing and artificial intelligence. It's really captivated me. Um, are you cognizant of it? Are you thinking about it? Are you factoring it into your decisions, like the how things might change with new computer technology?
Personally, I think the computing technology is definitely growing as fast as
Yeah.
ever, um, especially since we had a lot of people that are jumping into the tech space.
Yes.
I mean, the jobs are not even keeping up with
Yeah.
the demand. The supply is very low. And I think personally soon the supply will be a lot greater, just because since we're moving on forward to the future, a lot more jobs in the tech
Yes.
field will start to
Will be
grow.
created. Yeah.
Correct.
There will be like way more jobs. Like
Right.
because we'll be able to like go to Mars to do a job there, like a special. Like that's my idea. I know you might find it crazy, and pretty much everyone who I talk to finds it crazy. But I think that our civilization, in a ridiculously short amount of time, will be just exponentially more technological. And what does that look like? I don't know exactly, but there's certain things we'll be able to do undeniably, I think, like colonizing the solar system, the galaxies, setting up societies on different planets. And it's all through quantum, this idea of quantum computing, which is, it's like people kind of talk about it, but it's not really, we don't have like a clear understanding of what it means in our society. Really, it's like a good way of thinking about it is it's the closest thing we've ever found to the code of the universe. So like if you think about my laptop here, it's running off of a code that it has on its chips. And with quantum, it's kind of like we found the code that dictates the universe. And through quantum, we have a lot of new possibilities. Like, so a normal laptop or computer runs on bits. A quantum computer runs on qubits. And the difference is that the bits here are like 0, 1, 0, 1, binary. And with quantum, it's like each zero can have like infinite different digits on it. So it's like pretty much infinite, the jump we've made. One way of breaking it down, and I promise I won't talk your head off here, but this is something Rogan's been talking about on his podcast, and like certain people have talked about it, but the best way to break it down for just people to understand is like, so the traditional computing systems we've used, when you take the whole observable universe, which is unimaginably big, right? Like we can't even imagine how big it is. If you convert, and I can't remember if I've already gone on this spiel to you on the phone or something, I might have.
No, I don't recall.
Okay, so if you take the whole observable universe, right, everything we can imagine, it's like quadrillions of times bigger than Earth, just unimaginably big, and that's all we know, and we know it's always getting bigger, expanding perpetually. So if you take all of it, and then you turn it all into one massive supercomputer, every atom is part of it. You turn it all into one big functioning supercomputer that runs on traditional computing principles. So then let's make up an equation called equation X, a super hard equation, a mathematical equation. The traditional supercomputer, the size of the whole universe, it would take like 8 sextillion years for it to crack this equation, equation X. Because of how complicated, how many variables, how many potentials, hypotheticals, and it has to run all these calculations. Now, with one quantum computer that can fit in a room this big, they can solve equation X in just 4 or 5 minutes. So we went from 8 sextillion years to 4 or 5 minutes and much smaller space. And people are like, okay, what does that mean? Why does it matter that we can solve an equation faster? Because since the age of information, the 50s, virtually everything in our society has been dictated by how good our best computers are, because it allows us to test things. So if you take any industry, any field like medical, for example, they're solving breast cancer, like they're solving everything, like it's like all gonna change. So how do you solve breast cancer with a quantum computer? Well, you take the issue, the sample of the tissue or whatever, and then you have the quantum analyze it, and it comes up with every potential instance it detects of an anomaly, and then it can further narrow that down to detect tumors years before they even appear, like by just having tiny little traces of it. And so you combine this massive quantum computing power with AI, and you already know what AI can do. So it's like these two things, the mergence and emergence of these two things is changing everything. It's going to change everything in a really, really fast way. So I'm sorry for just talking. I keep getting in, like, just talking about this to everyone, but, and I know it can seem like what the fuck, but it's like really like I love it. I love that we're alive at this time when this is happening. It's so special.
I mean, I think personally, like for me, I'm not very educated in that field, but you know, from what you've said to me so far, I think it's definitely gonna be a change, a big change. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be something that it's a life changing moment, especially when it advances from here in 10, 20, 30 years. I mean, the outcome is endless, and the potential is, you know, it's endless as well. So I think you know from what you've told me so far, I think this is really a good invention.
Yeah, I think so too. Um, and I think with anything in history like this big, it's opportunity. It's like this is opportunity and the most opportunity, and it's like we just like they taught us at the job. Like we just have to be willing to. Did you ever read the book Who Moved My Cheese? They were giving it around at the job a lot, but it's a great book. It's the premise is really simple. It's like instead of um, instead of being scared of change, you have to actually love change so much that you instigate it yourself. That you're the person who instigates it. Um, Let me pull up an article that I just saw, and I want to ask your opinion on it. Okay. So, scientists, and this is from, this happened yesterday, and all these articles are here today. So, scientists have discovered evidence of large quantities of biosignature chemicals, only known to be made by life, on an exoplanet more than 100 light years away. It could be the most promising sign yet of alien life. Chemical fingerprints of life have been found by NASA's James Webb Space Telescope, the most promising evidence yet for alien life, scientists say. These chemicals were detected in the atmosphere of an exoplanet named K218b, which is located 124 light years away from Earth and orbits its star in the habitable zone, the region around the star where liquid water can exist on a planet's surface. On Earth, these molecules, the methyl sulfide and the methyl disulfide, are only produced by life, such as marine algae and other microbes. Before now, they hadn't been definitely detected in the atmospheres of any other planets or moons. While it is theoretically possible for these chemicals to be created without the presence of life, they are considered potential biosignatures on other worlds. What's your reaction to that?
Personally, I think honestly, every time I you know kind of like just hear something in regards to
Sorry, I'm just closing the
no,
window.
go ahead. I'll let you do that first.
Every time you hear something in regards to aliens.
Right. Every time I hear something in regards to aliens or a life that exists outside the planet, I tend to have a harder time
Of
and
course.
to believe in it
Yeah.
just because, finding small pieces of like detail or evidence, there's a potential of it being either right or wrong.
You're right.
And we can't take it for like, I mean, we can always, for the benefit of the doubt.
We can imagine anything, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, hypotheticals, yeah.
Correct. And usually I'm not very like a predict / hypothetical person.
Yes, you're right. That's
So the way I see it is like, oh, nice finding, but unless we can find with actual proof, then we can finally be like, okay, this actually does exist or happen. But again, anything that's outside the planet, like years and years away from here, you don't know how it was made, because mind you, at the end of the day, we came out of nothing. There was nothing in this reality. It was just nothing existence until the Big Bang Theory happened.
Well, that's an interesting theory. Talk more about that. So you think we came from nothing?
Right. Personally, the way I think of it is, the Big Bang Theory happened, and that's how kind of like the reality starts to exist.
But what would have instigated that?
And that's another good question. Like, speaking of the Big Bang Theory, for instance, like, can I prove that? No, I can't. Can someone prove that? Possibly not. But the way that we were just taught in our education system on how it all began one day, long years ago, is like how it influenced us to kind of just think about that.
Are you religious?
Yeah.
And are you religious in the sense of are you more, so are you religious in terms of you believe specifically how your religion describes the creation, or are you more open to like are you religious in terms of you believe like every word, or are you more open to taking the values and like having your own opinion on like how things started, or are you married to what kind of it says? Because both are valid.
Personally, I, as someone who believes in God and believe that there's something that exists,
yes,
hierarchy above us that made everything happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just take a look at us as human beings, we're such a complex species. We haven't even discovered on what's the full capabilities of our bodies. Like, speaking of the breast cancer that you spoke about earlier, there's just so much about our bodies that we don't have answers for and we can't seem to solve.
Yeah.
And it just shows you that how was this creature made, like us as humans or us as animals, and how were they made? Because you can't take something out of nothing and make it to be something.
So what you just said, the essential question at the heart of this conversation is incredibly simple. And you said it yourself. Why is there something rather than nothing? Why is there anything rather than nothing? It's an impossible question in terms of how we think about it now. But I agree with you. I believe there must be a someone who created us. And so I'm not atheistic, but I'm determined to. I believe life is a question, primarily. So the existence of my life, I see it as a question that's unanswered, which is, what does it mean? Why do I exist? And I think of life sometimes as sort of a game where the goal is to answer the question. And people will have different approaches to that. Like, they'll spend years meditating and this and that. But I think, why don't I just try to figure it out with science and technology? Like it seems like everyone has just accepted life. Like, they're like not trying to figure it out. And then some people are like, there's an inherent question here, and we can try and at least go in the path of solving it. Maybe it will be impossible, but that's what Musk says a lot. It's like when they ask him why he does, and I know it seems like I idolize Musk, but I'm just saying, like, when they ask him, like, why he does what he does, he's like, I don't know the nature of the universe and I want to figure it out. So I think there's a real beauty in that. And, like, do you want to know a definite way we could figure out why we exist? Like, with science? So it's a definite way. But it would just require, like, we keep going with quantum and AI. So it would be, you know how time works in space. So we create light, and that light moves through the universe, and it doesn't ever really go away for a really long time. So when we're looking at the sun in the sky, we're not looking at the sun. We're looking at the sun 8 minutes ago. That's what the sun looked like, because it's 8 light minutes away. Right now it's a bit in a different position. And the moon is like a couple seconds different because it's way closer. But if that planet in the article I talked about is 124 light years away, that means that when we look at it through a telescope, we're looking at exactly how it looked 124 years ago. Now, how do we take this? It's hard to understand, right?
It's very trippy, yeah.
Yeah, but it's
I'm tripped out.
Time and space. It's how time and space works. It's we've proven this. Like, when we look at something 1,000 light years away, we have telescopes that can look really far. That thing is 1,000 years in the past. Now, flip it. So, let's say an alien is in space 1,000 light years away from us, and they have a really strong telescope. They can zoom in at us and look live, frame by frame, video footage basically of what life was happening 1,000 years ago. So they can watch the past as it happens. Just watch it, like, play out. So they could zoom in on, like, whatever event at whatever distance they want. So they could go to, like, 60 light years away and look at how life was 60 years ago and watch, like, Martin Luther King marching and, like, listen to his speech if they have a really powerful lens that can zoom in, and also some audio equipment.
Yeah, I have a good question. So in terms of you bringing up Martin Luther King, because, we're talking about the past,
Mm-hmm.
but wouldn't the space type of past be different than the past that we have here?
What do you mean?
Just for instance, like, if
it would be the light. It wouldn't really be happening, but they see it happening. So it's just the light.
So if they were 1,000 light years away from us,
yeah,
they would see us 1,000 years ago.
How do I? Let me try to write this down. So, why do we think about it in light years? Because light moves at that speed. So the sun is shooting out light, and then that lights us up, and that light moves out at the speed of light, going forever at the speed of light. So that light will take 1,000 years to get to that alien, and then he'll see that light. So that's why we see, like, the stars. Most of the stars in the sky we see don't exist anymore. They're so far away that they've died of heat death. A lot of them.
Oh, okay. So I get it now. I understand.
You kind of see it. So they'll be looking at the light, and
so not what's actual happening.
We won't exist anymore. No, but the light that we emit will exist. So they'll get a video. And depending on how good their telescope is, it will be really detailed and zoomed in. And they can use AI to figure out audio and, like, all these different things. So the past is ever preserved just by nature of the universe and how it functions.
Wow, okay.
So why is that important? Where did we come from? All right. We send it. So first, in order to ever look at the past, you have to figure out how to go faster than the speed of light, because the light goes out at the speed of light. So if we want to catch up to it, we would have to be going faster than it to look at the past.
Just look at the past, right.
So Einstein had his general theory of relativity, which suggests that as an object with mass approaches the speed of light, so as it accelerates, it becomes infinitely more difficult to propel that object. So that was his theory as to why we can't break the speed of light barrier. And it's a really good theory. And it makes sense in the practical way we look at physics. But this is why quantum physics has just changed everything. Because his theory now means nothing. Why does it mean nothing? Why do I think we can now break the speed of light? Because of a phenomenon called quantum entanglement. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've watched Oppenheimer.
Is that a YouTuber? I don't know.
No, it was a movie that came out.
Oh yeah, did they talk about quantum entanglement?
Yeah, he was a professor who's like a quantum professor.
Okay.
To make the nuclear.
I didn't know nukes had to do with quantum, but that would make sense.
Yeah, and then so to create that, he needed the quantum professor, to help them with it, and he assembled a team of like other like physics professors and mathematicians and all of these things, and he was leading the thing. It was a really good movie, like.
Yeah, I'll have to. It seemed really good. I think I would love that movie.
Definitely.
Quantum entanglement, in its most simplest terms, is scientists noticed and physicists that when they look with microscopes at these electrons or different particles, there will be a few of them that will start out together and then become separated, but they become linked. And there's a bond between them which we have not yet been able to detect or understand. And so they can be at complete opposite ends of the universe anywhere. And if you change one of them, the other one will change in the exact same way. At the same time. So this is what we've been able to harness to make qubits and quantum processing possible, is the idea of changing one thing to change another thing regardless of how far away it is. We don't know why it works. It's called a black box idea. So it's an idea that we use, but we don't understand how it works. There are very few examples of it in our tech, but this is one. AI is also another one, which is a whole other conversation. But so we have two electrons. Think of them like they could be 1 billion years or 1 billion miles away, floating through the universe. They could be infinitely far apart. And then you change one and the other one is changed at the same time. So what this means, they have 1 million theories. They're really working fast now to figure out why, but they know how to use it. But the thing is, we know that there is something that moves faster than the speed of light that doesn't involve space-time rules, which is whatever link that these two things have, which they must have.
At the same time.
Yes.
So this means that they wouldn't be affected by light, speed, or time.
Exactly, yeah. You said it exactly. So it's like the idea of a warp drive, kind of, from Star Wars, where you can, like, contract the space in front of you and shoot it out, expand it behind you, kind of like how a boat propeller works, but much faster because of the dark matter and antimatter. There's a lot of like theoretical elements, but I am 1,000,000% confident that we're going to break the light speed barrier, and we will have the ability to sort of go anywhere we want in the universe instantaneously. By contracting space and expanding it. And this is really big. Back to our previous discussion on where we came from. Now, if we imagine we break the speed of light barrier, what I can do is we can send, we can send, using AI and better rocket technology and this quantum entanglement, we can send, let's say, 1 million different, we'll tell the AI, like, hey, I want you to send 1 million different little droids with super good telescopes to everywhere in the ballpark of when we think we started to exist, like humans. Um, so like our current estimations are that like anthropologists and everyone, they think that we came from like 100,000 to like maybe 600,000 years ago, Homo sapiens, and then like our ancestors like Australopithecus would have been like up to 2 million years ago. Um, so what we do is we send a bunch of droids, a bunch of drones with the telescopes, like as many as we need, to like different points in space, like all around like 100,000 light years away to 2 million light years away. So they're all looking at like a different year, a different time, and then they just all record a bit, and then the AI will take all of that footage, and you'll be able to say, hey, so when did we appear? Was it evolution? Did we come from a monkey? If so, then we go back and find out where that monkey came from. If not evolution, we figure out what it is. And we go back. If we can't figure it out, we figure out where the first life came from. And it's like a map, but we can follow it and it exists. So we'll be able to figure it out if we keep moving in this direction. Which is shocking. It's frankly shocking, but it's utterly essential. I think it's kind of like our mission in a way. Um, at least my mission. Like, I I'm like obsessed with the idea of it.
I mean, I've also wondered this too. We tend to, and I want to get your idea on this. Why is it that we tend to want to know so much about what happened in the past rather than moving forward and just seeing what happens in the future?
So my idea on this is the same thing. It's simply how my brain is wired. It's that's just how it is. Like when I was in school, I couldn't do school. Like I kept moving schools, getting kicked out, and I dropped out of high school ultimately. And it's like it's hard for me to keep jobs like when I'm not interested. It's like if people put me in a situation and expect me to go along with it, I can't. It's just doesn't work. I have to understand why. And the same thing at that job we worked. Like you can remember how I was acting. Like I just need to know why. I need to know why because I feel self-important. Like I have an ego, so I'm like, if there is a God or creator or whatever, I'm like, I have to know why. Why they're doing this with me. What am I? Why do I exist? I don't have to, but I'm very much drawn towards the direction of trying to. And that's where I find purpose, I think. Like trying to trace it down. And the pathway I see now is business, which I love doing so much. It's my addiction. Business is going to lead to figuring it out, to helping this AI wave, and then I want to just figure this shit out, or at least spend my whole life trying to. And if I spend my whole life trying to and I don't figure it out, I'll still feel good because it's what I love. Like, I'm sorry, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it completely does make sense the way you described it. I mean, you're just trying to figure out why. You have this why question, and I think
it's like addictive for me, and I don't need the satiation of ultimately realizing it. I think that's incredibly unlikely.
And that's why I think most people just give up on the why, trying to figure it out, because of how much. I feel like the way I think of it is that the universe doesn't owe anyone an explanation.
Yes.
I mean, life doesn't owe anyone an explanation.
Yes.
I mean, you're here. Deal with it. You know
and
what I mean?
We don't owe life to act a certain way. Just like they don't owe. If it's obvious they don't. Whoever it is or whatever it is, it doesn't feel like it owes us any explanation. So if this entity doesn't owe me an explanation, I'm certainly not gonna just live a random life, doing what I attach, whatever it is. Like, there's simply no path for me other than pursuing it relentlessly. It's like, it's just like in me. Like it's something that I can't separate from myself. It's really weird, but
Right.
maybe whatever this thing is, it's intentional that they put this in me because it's like just part of the game for them or whatever. But I don't know. I really am into this stuff. Like, but I also appreciate the other perspective, which is like why are you focused on the stars when there's so much here that we need to fix? So I think it's complicated.
Yeah, I mean, personally, like, I'm not very, like, as a person, I do, as someone who wants to be an entrepreneur in the future and wants to have something for my own, and somebody who thinks a bit different, and sometimes I just like to want answers for certain things that I do. I have questions for things in life, and sometimes when I can't find an answer or there is no answer, I kind of just tend to just let it go. And since I'm here in this life, and the way I see it is that it makes it a lot easier to believe there is a God that kind of just brought us into this world to kind of just do good and just kind of like aim to be better and all these things. And me believing this kind of just tends to ease it, like makes life a lot more easier for
Yes.
me, just because me just constantly thinking about so much things that are not even comprehensible. You know what I mean? When you start to
Yeah.
think beyond
Well, yes.
the existence.
I think that's super insightful, and I've grappled with it a lot. Like, so existentialism and all of these philosophers in the past, like Nietzsche, like they were just super existential, and they had such primitive technology, and like they had no perception of ever figuring this stuff out. So everyone again and again in our past has accepted that there's no use in worrying about it until the age of information, when it's like we've figured out clear pathways to figure it out. So it's like now I think there might be more people like getting on this wave. Like my brother, for example, he's like fully like he's like a PhD student and just trying to figure out like clues about life, like through biology, and he's taking a different path, like not tech, trying to figure it out. But I think pretty much like yeah, I don't know. I think the days of I think I'm like Nietzsche, not like Nietzsche, but like a philosopher in the sense that I've always been existential and curious about the nature of everything. And call me, well, yes, I'm completely delusional, but for some reason now I've internalized the belief that it's possible through tech and science to figure it out. So it's like a real obsession, like, but yeah, I don't know. What will that look like? It's so incomprehensible that I really believe there's going to be a day when humans figure out what is going on.
Right.
And that day will be like the biggest change of our species ever. Like,
Right.
it will be like the day of awakening or something.
I mean, definitely. I agree with you 100%. But I feel like us as humans, our mind it wasn't made for the caliber of just the
That's what people
understanding.
say. That's what people say though when I talk about it. Like, we're just not meant to understand.
And it's not like.
But I think we can. Like, we'll just look. We'll look at the footage of where we came from. So it's like, how could you not understand it if we could look at it and see it?
Right, and I completely agree with you. Like, once we can look at it and see it and read it and whatever it is,
Yeah.
we would kind of understand it and fill in the pieces, you know what I mean? The
Yes.
puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
But for now, since we don't have the puzzle pieces and they're missing, it's kind of hard to understand it. unless we have the puzzle pieces. And through quantum computing,
Yeah.
through the technology that's coming out, it's slowly we're kind of getting these, puzzle pieces, placing them in the missing spots until we have the full picture.
You're right. You're
to
right.
be able to kind of just be like, whoa, this is so crazy.
You're
you know
totally
what I mean?
right. Yeah, we need more puzzle pieces. Right now we have some. The biggest has to be quantum entanglement.
But it's not enough for us to comprehend.
Yeah, it's a lot to comprehend, and it's they're more in like chemistry a lot. So like, I don't know. Did you ever study chemistry a little?
Yeah.
So you know how the I forget if this is would be I think this is chemistry. So like the anatomy of an atom. So you've got the nucleus and then the protons and the neutrons and the electrons. So the electrons are in the orbital of the nucleus.
Right.
They're surrounding it and moving around. But we've never been able to positively identify the location of an electron. All we can do is come up with a probability for it where it might be. It's like a big theme of chemistry. So, is that chemistry? I took a chemistry course and we talked about it, so I don't know if it's technically chemistry.
I think it's like somewhat related to
Yeah.
chemistry.
Like atoms and stuff.
Right.
But anyway, that's another thing, like quantum entanglement. We don't know where electrons are, or how, it's like so weird, and we just, what are electrons? Like, so you already know, we don't need to talk about all
It's
these
like
hypotheticals.
you see the way that you kind of like, tend to try to explain it.
Yeah.
You're trying to just
It's like we just don't know what this is. Yeah.
Right, and then you're trying to pretty much explain it in a way where you can comprehend it to your brain.
Yes, that's
but
what we do, but we don't know what it is. We just have names for everything.
Right, and you tend to like kind of just have trouble trying to explain it because then your brain's like, well, this and that, and how do we figure this, and how come this works, but we don't even have an explanation for it.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, there's like the black, what was it? The
black box.
Right. I mean, it's like, it's working, but how? It's like building a car, but you don't know how it works.
Yeah, well, they know how that works. They know how like cars, and with quantum we don't know how it works, but we use it. We like harness the
Yeah, I
quantum
mean, like for cars, we do know how it works. Yeah, that was an example.
Yeah,
it's like
but for most people, yeah, we don't know how they work.
Yeah, but like speaking in a black box term, like this like ideology of you being able to switch two different atoms, is that what it is?
Yeah.
At the same time, and it would switch
particles,
places. And how does it work? How does it happen? We don't know, correct?
Yeah, no, but we use it for computers.
Correct. So it's working, but we don't know how it's working.
Yeah.
And if that makes sense. So
that's a black box, yeah.
Right. So, this whole ideology of figuring life out, I think it's beyond comprehension for now.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Sooner and
later. The philosophers aren't going to figure out where we came from by thinking about it. It's going to be scientists that figure it out. That's
right.
my idea.
And then it proves time proves itself. Like these philosophers spent years, maybe their entire life, talking about it
and wondering what it might be.
Right.
Yeah.
But no matter how much time they spent speaking about it and thinking about it, they weren't able to solve it. Why? Because it's beyond the brain's comprehension.
Yes, it's just a product of their mind, their ideas.
Right. So their mind is limited because the information is what? Limited.
Yes.
So I think it's like a puzzle piece, and as well as an equation. You have to have A and B to be able to get the result. If you only have A, you can't get a result. So that's the way I think of it.
You're right. I think that's really insightful. Like it's something I have to figure out a better way to explain it to like the people in my life I meet, like my girlfriend and stuff. Like she's like so confused about my obsession with quantum and AI and all of it. Because it's true. A lot of people just have different. We all have different priorities in life, and yeah. So it's like it's nice to like just understand like how our priorities are different from normal people, and like. But I'm overall just really excited about everything.
Right.
I have this other thing like with the I told you a little bit about it, like mapping the oceans. Did I tell you about it? So you know how there's a lot of lost stuff at the bottom of the ocean? Like, do you remember when that plane went missing like 10 years ago, the Malaysian airline, all those people? Amelia Earhart's plane is somewhere in the ocean.
I thought they found the plane.
The MH370 they didn't find.
Didn't even find it.
No, but the Malaysian government will pay like 100 million to anyone who finds it.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And, okay, well that's not even close. Like we know of ships like the RMS Bounty that have like billions and billions of gold, like old Spanish ships a lot, which they're all lost, and there are people who spend years like trying to track them down, and sometimes these like private treasure hunter groups are successful.
Right.
And but I did figure out a way to track it all down. So it just an AI algorithm which reads this sonar charts, which are public data, and then it's like three kinds of AI, like RNN, CNN, and NLP, and they all work together. But so now we can have like a working map of all man-made objects in the ocean. This idea I like a lot, and I want to sell this idea and figure out how to move forward with it, because it's like I love the ocean and also hunting for treasure and stuff. But I think someone's gonna do it really soon with AI, and like it's pretty important, I think. What do you think of that?
Personally, I don't know much about the Malaysian airline that crashed or the aircraft. Um, but I heard some about it. But again, I'm not really too familiar with it, so pretty much I'm at that point. But for your idea, though, I think just as far as I understand, I think it's a great idea to be able to kind of just is the goal here or the objective is to be able to find and track all these missing ships and aircrafts and all these stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think
And anything in the future that goes missing, it would be easy to find it.
right. I think it would be a good idea, but what I do see as a challenge maybe would be the fact that AIs wouldn't really have a real time access to how the ocean levels are and the ground level is, and
It does.
it does. Okay.
Well, so it's complicated. It's not a perfect science as of yet, but it is in the sense that it would just take like a long ass time to code it. But the map exists of the ocean floors and everything on them, but it's in raw sonar data, which people can't like you can kind of understand certain things, but it's like if you send sonar is a wave of sound. So if I send a bunch of sound waves at this table, it will come back with like a chart that will show how the sound wave like hit the table, and then you can use code and also different clues to figure out what the table looks like and like different things.
I think I think this type of technology already exists, doesn't it? Where it would detect the object through sound waves, and you would kind of be able to outline it.
So they use it to get like dots, like when they're on the subs underwater, they'll get like a blinking dot of like another object near them with the sonar wave. But what the idea with the AI is to like basically scan the sonar charts and then detect patterns, and then like keep sending it again one AI to the other to narrow down those patterns. But yeah, there's no map of the ocean floor currently, and that's a really big thing that will happen.
Because the ocean is pretty big, and I
It's
would
huge.
presume
The reason I
anybody
can't,
would be able to have access or be able to have like an actual accurate
yeah,
how the ocean ground levels are and the
you need a lot of storage space.
and it's deep.
Yes, very.
The water is like I'm pretty sure the water is the majority of the planet, and so
Well, the depth wouldn't really factor into it because it's simply the floor.
right. Okay, I see what you mean now.
But yeah, the storage is the main cost in this idea because to just have like 10% of the ocean's sonar data without the AI, it's like 100 petabytes of storage, which actually isn't that much considering how big the ocean is. But yes, like, okay, another idea I want to run by you. This one is like pretty much super far out of the reach of like what I can do right now. But the big thing that's coming is consumer quantum computers. So it will be like all you need to do is take the processor from this computer and replace it with a quantum processor, which they already exist. So the first person to do that well, like to make the first quantum laptop, is gonna be really big. Like Google is rushing to like figure it out, but they haven't really made progress with that, but they filed some patents for it, and like different companies are. But yeah, that one is like, there's really like not. It's I can see why, it would be like stupid to kind of go down that path because a big company is gonna make the first quantum laptop probably. What do you think about that?
Personally, in terms of like quantum and you know having just quantum chips in a computer or a laptop, I think it'll be a great idea. I think it'll help a lot of consumers. But when it comes to the development of the product, speaking of like the current quantum computing that exists, I presume that the current the technology of quantum requires a lot of energy, a lot of
A huge amount.
space.
Yes.
And
that's why I can't build a quantum computer.
right, and it's not actually.
You can buy one for like a couple $1,000, like the cheapest ones now they have for consumers, but it's just like a 2-qubit processor, so it's just for like learning about what quantum is.
Have you heard about the Majorana or something like that?
No.
If you look it up, that's like a quantum chip that Microsoft came out with. I'm not sure if you were familiar with that or heard about it.
When would that have been?
Like a couple months ago. It's like Majorana, like with a J.
Microsoft?
Yeah, like the chip. Or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right.
Majorana.
Yeah, Majorana.
Ooh, yeah, that looks cool. Yeah, chips are a big business, and they're moving to America. Chips. We had a really small market stake in the global chip market, but it's a lot is moving. Like even the mayor of New York, I don't know if you have any idea about him, but he's wants to build a big chip factory in Queens in New York. But I think chips are a great business because everything runs on little chips, which is cool. Do you know about chips? Or are you interested?
Honestly, not very familiar in that field, just because it wasn't my like as someone who's just pursuing business and wants to start a business. I think it depends. Maybe if the business I'm looking to start is related to tech and chips and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, it has never been something that I was looking to start because it's not a cheap business idea, and rather it takes a lot of resources, a lot of time, and a lot of capital, and that's something that I wouldn't personally go for as of now in my career and my time.
You're right.
Maybe in the future, I'll probably something really interesting to look at.
Yeah, of course. Do you see yourself going to space? Like once it will become, I think, really cheap. So it will be like just like going on a plane and like you could be like a tourist and go to Mars for a week or something, would you do it when that's available?
Personally, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
No.
Why not?
I just don't find interest. I don't seem to really care or have interest in regards to. I want to see how Mars looks like, or I want to see how planets a couple of years from now looks like.
Yeah.
It's just not something that I'm really like looking forward to, super excited about.
Yeah.
Especially like in the reality of like, we're trying to like when I see individuals speak about time travel or, you know, moving to other places and all these things, I kind of don't seem to really like care much about the essence of leaving the planet to go somewhere else. Personally, I feel like I was born here and I spent a good amount of my
Yeah.
time here. So I feel like you kind of just tend to adapt to living here and stuff.
What if it was offered to you for free, like luxury hotel on Mars, all expense paid, just for a week? Like you can bring your whole family. You still wouldn't do it.
I still wouldn't do it,
Really?
honestly. Yeah.
So do you almost have an like? It's not even like you're neutral. It's more like you have an aversion to doing it. Like it would feel unnatural, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, it would feel, one thing, it would feel unnatural, and two, it would just feel like it's something that I'm really interested about, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Somebody might be so interested and hyped up about going to Mars,
Yeah.
but for someone like
Like
me,
Musk, yeah.
right? But for someone in my shoes, I feel like
It's just like a big red planet. Like there's nothing even
right.
on
It's
it.
like
Yeah.
wow, you get to
Yeah.
go to Mars, and what do you do now? You're sitting in a hotel, so it's not really anything
Yeah.
that I find super cool or interesting.
I see it. Yeah.
So I don't really see any reason for me to kind of want to go there for a week or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, because right now, like rich guys like Bezos, he went to space just because he wanted to. So when they first made computers, you had to be really rich to get one, but now everyone can, and it will be kind of like that. I think like it will be pretty easy. Yeah, it's a lot to think about. It's fascinating to think about how things might go. But I'm really optimistic about your path, and like you seem really ambitious and determined, and you've got many really good ideas. And yeah, I would love to collaborate with you on something, whether it's one of your ideas or one of my ideas or anything like. So there's lots of entrepreneur events, like I mentioned, in the city. There's so many entrepreneurs. I've met so many of them, like, and they're just all very interesting. And I think it's good to just meet them. Like, so I would definitely ask you to consider coming with me to one of these events. And I think that would be really fire. Whether you want to like help me pitch or not, or if you just want to watch, it would be good. And I think yeah, like to survive at that job, you had to know how to pitch, and pitching is important for it too.
No, I mean, yeah, I definitely would love to go to these business events or these, just pitching events, and also getting to be able to speak with these individuals who are entrepreneurs. I mean, in my current job, I do speak with entrepreneurs all the time.
Nice.
And it is really interesting to hear the story, to hear the development, to hear the breakthrough, and all these do really adds up to what I can possibly offer for my new ventures and my new ideas.
And that's almost even better because at your job, these people have proven that their idea works. Maybe not all of them, but at these entrepreneur events, a lot of the people haven't, like for me, like I haven't had a successful business yet. So it's like, it's a good way to just see people trying. And then the most recent one I went to, it was a dual usage so they were pitching to like the military, like the US military, like different generals and stuff. technology which they think the military might want to buy for like contracts. So a lot of tech stuff. And I think you would really do well in one of those environments. Like Boston seems to be the place for these things. It's really like the center of a lot of stuff, and it's
Right.
growing.
Definitely, I totally agree.
Yeah, so I'll let you know the next time I'm going to one, and yeah, it would be fire. And any final thoughts? Anything else on your mind? Any questions?
Um, Honestly, for now, I don't have any thoughts. I think we've covered everything, and again, I'm just here as a guest. So I mean, you've had the questions, and I think we went through pretty much everything we could in those questions. We went in depth.
Yeah, how did you feel about your first podcast? Did you feel, I was thinking about this too, like, did you feel like we would have the same conversation if it wasn't recorded, or does the recording kind of influence what we say?
I think the recording does definitely influence what I say,
Mm-hmm.
because the moment you're recording, I'm having a much more thoughtful process.
Yes.
And I do plan on what to say, and I do think really well about what to say.
Yeah.
If this wasn't recorded, I would kind of just let whatever flows out,
Yeah.
and it's not filtered, well thought out
Nice.
discussion.
Yeah, you're right. For me too, it's like I probably would never be able to understand my brain well enough to know if I'm making a adjustment or not. But yeah, I think podcast, it's good. I like to talk, and yeah, if I keep doing this, I'd love to have you back on the show. But Brahim, great chatting with you. Let's end it in 3, 2, 1.